Welcome back to Honey Toast. What if the real trauma isn't the birth, but the system that surrounds it? And what if birth isn't just about babies, but about power, lineage, and everything we've been taught to forget? We are in the thick of our seasons of initiations, the thresholds that women cross that change everything, and there may be no threshold that's more raw, more silent, and more misunderstood than birth. Today, we are joined by Emmy Robbin. Emmy is a birth worker, a somatic trauma coach, and the author of Faithful Beginnings, which just became a #1 bestseller this year. She's helped countless women and couples heal from birth trauma, reclaim their confidence, and even prepare what she calls redemption births. Her work is all about restoring trust in the body, in birth, and in parts of us that were never broken to begin with. So before we dive into all of the deeper questions around trauma, systems, and power, I want to give Emmy a chance to bring us into her world a little bit.
I know it's wrong, but I don't care.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Emmy. We're so happy and excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so can you just let us know a little bit about your transition into the work that you did? Was it like a personal experience that got you into this work, or what was it that made you realize that birth is not just pushing out a baby and having a child?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a culmination of just pretty much my whole life. I really feel that God led me to this work, and it just is kind of, I I was a massage therapist. I got my massage therapist license when I was 19. My mom ran a home daycare my whole life. I was a nanny in my 20s. My sister was a doula for many, many years, long before I even thought about having children. I've always kind of been surrounded by like being fascinated with anatomy and physiology, and then also with babies, just kind of changing diapers in diapers until I was 18, with my mom running a home daycare. And so I kind of just saw like all the postpartum stuff, like the normalcy of like newborn stuff and, into toddlerhood and like what's actually normal, right? So that's a lot of my work as well, is like really kind of easing women into like, this is normal. But like going into the birth part of it, I actually never wanted to have kids. Surprise, surprise, growing up in a home daycare, like my mom running home daycare.
Maybe you had enough of it. You're like, I'm good.
Right? It's like, I took care of kids my whole life. I don't think I want to have kids. But I always loved serving people. I'm a people pleaser by nature. I want to take care of people. I'm a nurturer. And again, like I said, I was a massage therapist for well over 20 years now. And so I've been fascinated with the human anatomy and physiology and just how we're made. I've been a naturopath and all of that for a long time too. So I've always kind of not really gone to the medical establishment whenever I would get sick. And so I met my husband when I was 30. We didn't decide to have children until I was 37 and had my first kid at 38. Thought I was being natural by doing the birth center route. Looking back at that birth, I realized I had a lot of the same experiences as the women that I helped through birth trauma. I was gaslit, manipulated into kind of not trusting my body and kind of going their route, and down the spiral I went. And I ended up in a C-section with my first daughter. Was really kind of convinced that my body couldn't birth her because she was so big and whatever. And, I had been a doula at that time. I'd started doing doula work. My sister really inspired me actually to do it. And I was like, well, hey, when I got pregnant, I was like, I want to learn everything about birth. And it made me like, okay, now I want to like attend births before I have my own. So I had attended a couple like really amazing births before I had my own.
Amazing.
And so I like went into my own birth, like thinking it was just going to be amazing and perfect. And just like the ones that I had supported. Right. And it was a big wake up call for me. And then really dove into wanting to understand exactly what happened. And through doing that, like I really saw the systematic propaganda, that it just women are constantly being told that they're broken. And so I kind of became the VBAC doula in Austin, and I helped like so many women have amazing VBACs.
Amazing.
And I never thought I wanted another one after that first experience. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And at 41, I had my second daughter here at home, and it was amazing, incredible, empowering. Now I sit with women in sovereign birth, so women who want a free birth, but they just want kind of like a wise woman or birth keeper. And so it's kind of just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the trust of us and our body. And I do believe that my first birth I'm so grateful for it now. Like looking back, I have so much gratitude because I would never be who I am now if I just had like this amazing 5-hour hypnobirthing birth as my first birth. I would just be like that doula that's like, okay, I'm going to keep doing hospital and keep doing this. And like, I wouldn't be this like
Advocate
fierce
for that.
advocate trying to wake up, just wake up, But yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's kind of me and how I got started and kind of where I've come.
So as you mentioned, a lot of your work obviously is in birth trauma, having come from having an experience of your own and witnessing that. Would you say in your experience that birth trauma can be a multitude of different things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you've had to have given birth to have experienced some type of birth trauma?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to physically experience birth trauma, as a pregnant woman, as a laboring mother, that's one thing.
Right.
And then as babies, we can experience birth trauma. So how your birth was with your own mother and her birth with her mother, because we were technically in our mother and our grandmother, right? And so generationally, we are experiencing these things, and our nervous system is so guided by how we are developed in pregnancy and how our mother's nervous system is while she's growing us, and then how we are birthed. So yeah, we can experience birth trauma before even having our own babies. And a lot of times I will find if we don't do the work and break down our own births, like how we were born, if it was traumatic, we carry that into our birth with our babies. But also a lot of the work that I do as well with women who are on their conception journey is I will break down traumatic birth stories that they've heard. I'll say, tell me the craziest birth trauma story you've ever heard, your best friend, your cousin, your sister, whatever it may be. Just tell it to me the way that they've told it to you, and we can go through it, and I can break it down and kind of fill in the blanks, and I can kind of tell you, what could have happened here. I'm not going to be 100% accurate, but I'm usually pretty close.
Right.
And through doing that, I can break down just hearsay, just traumatic birth stories that are just kind of told to us. Because as women, when your belly starts showing when you're pregnant, you'll be in the grocery store and somebody will just come up to you and just tell you their traumatic birth story. And like, well, I just hope that doesn't happen to you. I just wanted to tell. It's like, stop doing that.
The signature phrase, I feel like when you're a pregnant woman that you hear constantly is, well, just wait until... Or just wait.
Oh, yeah. There's always a
Just
you'll be wanting that epidural.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the plan. I will wait until
halfway there.
Yeah. I think that that's some really good insight, because I think that oftentimes in our society, we do relate that term and the whole concept and the whole world of birth trauma only around mothers that are giving birth or in labor. And so thank you for clarifying. I think that it's really good for people to hear that it's possible to have these experiences that are literally, traumatic experiences from the time that you're born yourself that can carry through your life. So
you may not even realize it or connect it. Or know
for
that,
sure.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we don't. So my question for you, Emmy, is why do you think that it's so normalized for women to disassociate when it comes to being in labor? And actually shamed in culture to do that when we're not in labor, like medicate and disassociate when it's actually shunned in any other situation, really.
Right. And yet when you're in labor, they're like,
it's encouraged, really.
Right. Just disassociate. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such a great question. It really is all rooted in fear and propaganda and kind of the the sales pitch, right? On you know, you're not going to win a trophy for having an unmedicated birth. Like, who are
Yeah.
you trying to prove this to? You know what I mean? And then also, you know, the woman that's just, you know, give me the epidural, give me the drugs, let me be so doped out so that I don't feel it, so that I do disassociate. But the reason somebody would want that is out of fear. It all goes back to fear because they don't actually understand the benefits of undisturbed physiological birth. And that's really the message that I teach, is because when you can tell somebody all day long, like, you know, you don't need to disassociate. You don't even need to have a pain-free birth. Like, I can't stand that either. Like, that's not something to strive for. We're supposed to feel, God created us to feel the pain of childbirth so that we can go into that and get through it. And by surrendering to that, you meet your baby, but you also meet yourself.
Yeah.
And if you disassociate at any point in your birth, or you seek to not feel it anymore, I can tell you from working with thousands of women at this point, that carries over into your postpartum. It really does.
Yeah.
And so if you're seeking validation, or you're seeking someone to tell you what to do in birth, you're going to be doing the same thing postpartum. And if you're numbing yourself out in birth and you're disassociating, the same thing's going to happen postpartum. And it really does lead to PPA and PPD. There's something physiological, biological, hormonal that we are supposed to complete a complete cycle in birth and go through it and not escape it and not disassociate and not try to squeeze a comb so that we can feel the pain somewhere else. Like,
redirect the
even
pain.
those things frustrate me. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you don't. You go into it. You go into it. And if you really understand what's happening, like, and how cool it is, fear is actually what's creating all that tension and that intensity, right? I don't even say the word pain. It's intense. It's intense.
Yeah,
Birth
yeah.
is intense, and
Intensity.
it's supposed to be. And you go into that. And if you try to escape that, you're not going to meet yourself. You're not going to feel the completion. That's the best way I could say it is. It's like a cycle of a completion. And women who end up in C-section, women who get the epidural, women who, it's just there's something that doesn't quite feel complete. Like you feel this like beautiful, yay, I feel a bond with my baby. I love it. I loved my birth. It was great. But there's also something different and powerful. And I think that's where the free birth movement comes from, because these women have had the birth without the complete cycle, and then they have the birth with the complete cycle. And this isn't like you have to free birth to have it. No, you just have to go in and meet yourself and not disrupt it and not disconnect. And there's a completion cycle that our nervous system has to do. And it's the same thing in birth. And so women who disassociate or try to escape the pain, I'll find that their body is stuck in confusion. So when I work with women with birth trauma, they're stuck in freeze, really.
Right.
So there's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. They're stuck in freeze. They're just confused. You know, they don't know they're confused. They're just like, I don't trust
Yeah.
my body. My
Yeah.
body was broken. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I could have done it without the epidural. I don't know if it's like,
Right.
they're so just disconnected. And the breastfeeding, the bond with baby, it's very powerful to stay present in your body. And I do believe having a doula, really, that's what I learned as a doula, is to really help women stay present in their body and like understand the process so that they can enjoy it.
Yeah.
They can
Yeah.
enjoy the intensity and not run from it, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And we see that kind of initiations in society. It kind of completes that cycle because we medicate for initiations in society. Like menstrual cramps is initiation, like getting your first period. What do we normally do? Pop a Tylenol or an Advil to suppress that pain rather than going through it, or understanding the body from another level, like where, we've talked a lot about PCOS in previous episodes and symptoms of PMS and why we get those things. And it's about going deeper and listening into the self. And really, that's no different than what you're describing when you're in labor and going through childbirth. So it's beautifully well-rounded and all interconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And listening to you talk about that and listening to the comparison of the different experiences, it's really sounding like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like the birth trauma isn't really a personal trauma. It's almost like a systemic trauma. Like the system traumatized you without you even knowing that it was probably happening.
Yeah, with the greenwashing, the bypass, or sorry, not greenwashing, the bypassing, the manipulation techniques. I think that resonates with a lot more women than we think, and it's quite normalized. And this is a movement, because for my own personal birth experience, I've had something very similar to you, Emmy, where my first one, I wanted to go into it like, oh, you know, I got this, I can do it. Now, I haven't been around babies the way that you had or seen birth really at all. I mean, the only person I knew that gave birth was you at that time, other than my older sister, she's far beyond. But my point is that at the time I didn't really question it until after it was done, reflecting back. And then to me, it was considered a successful birth because that's what I was told. But that will go into one of our further questions down the road. But is it, is your birth really considered successful if other people are telling you it's successful to you, if it didn't meet your ideals, right? So,
or that cycle.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I was cutting off one of your questions. Or
No.
Oh, okay.
It all ties together. I think that exactly what you were saying is an extremely valid question. Like,
what was my question again? I forget. I just went off my own story.
I mean, y'all's point is it's true, because like that's the thing is, a lot of people, when you say birth trauma, you think like, oh, she ended up in an emergency C-section, or oh, something happened to her, or oh, something happened to her baby, right? Like that's what you think of when you think of birth trauma.
Right.
But that's not it. It's like, for example, a mother that I'm working with now, her midwives have literally been talking about the size of her baby since she was like 22 weeks pregnant. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Right.
And they keep forcing her to try to drink the glucola,
Girl,
take the glucose
me.
test. And she's like, I prick my finger and the blood work everything's coming back good.
Right.
Like my numbers are not spiking. I'm looking great. Why do I need to drink this drink? And it got to the point where it was so combative back and forth. And she was just like, the whole reason I hired you guys is because I don't want to be treated like the hospital. And I feel like that's what I'm getting right now, is like, you guys are telling me that I have to take this test for you guys. And I'm telling you no, and you won't accept no. And it's like they like sugarcoat it. And then the next
Literally.
appointment, they'll bring it back up. And I'm like, they're like gaslighting you.
Yeah.
Like, and so they made her sign like a AMA or not, just like an
NDA.
Your
saying,
baby could die.
Right.
because
Oh, no, I remember
You're refusing to take this
I
test.
had to do that
too
with
for
both of my daughters.
I was planning for my
Yeah.
last birth, saying I'm like, I don't want this. I can't remember what it was, but the midwives were at the house checking if everything's good. They're like, this baby gate, how fast can we rip this down so a stretcher can get up here? I was like, what does a stretcher need to get up here for? This looks like a good surface for resuscitation. I'm like, why are we talking about resuscitation?
Yeah.
Like, it was always about the preparation for the negative.
Yeah.
And I never
Yes.
felt once when I was working with a specific set of midwives, supported in the way that I wanted to, rather than being prepared for all the risks that could happen.
Right.
And also, this was my second time going into it. So I didn't actually have any midwives present when I gave birth to my daughter. It was with a childbirth practitioner and doula as well. And it was more of that calm setting, but there was a part of me that was like still holding onto that fear, because they were along for the ride up until the moment I was in labor. And I was like, nope, I don't need them. I don't want to call them, because they've provided nothing but fear. And similar to the story you just told, measuring me constantly every day, like pushing ultrasounds, because my belly didn't met me. And, I was really becoming educated this round. And I was like, I know my rights. Can we get another test or like another opinion? These are subjective. You're measuring with your fingers. And then I eventually was like, why
does it
doing this?
matter?
What am I preparing for? And at the end of the day, it was a cord to let go of. It's scary.
Yeah.
But it's like reclaiming a part of yourself. Like by going into that fear and trusting yourself. Like it's like saying you trust yourself in a different way. So
Well, I would say that a great lead up question to that is, in your professional experience, how would you guide one of your clients into learning how to let go of those things, learning how to let go of the fear and step into the power of the experience?
I mean, that's a great question, because that's literally what I do. So I do like a free 2-hour reclaim birth masterclass, and it's not just for like birth trauma women. It's for women in their conception phase with their first baby. But really what I do is I run through, conception, being pregnant, how to stay healthy, from nutrition, hydration, all the things that you can do to prepare your body for birth, right? And then going inward to faith by not seeking outside validation for everything, because the more we do that, the more you're going to just heighten all of your cortisol is going to be, yeah, you can do an anatomy scan. Make sure that the organs are on the inside of the body. All the organs are growing beautifully.
Yeah.
And your baby's great, developing perfectly. Cool. All right. What else do we need? You don't need to do a position one. You don't need to. It's there's just so much. And I go over each test, each thing, benefits and risks. It's all about informed consent. And there is no such thing as informed consent anymore. People don't give that. So I feel like if you teach people the benefits and risks of each thing that they're going to be offered in pregnancy, right? And then leading up to labor, if you can teach a woman and her husband, you have to teach the partner. It cannot just be a woman in this by herself and her husband's just going to go along for the ride. That's the best way to
end up being
completely
manipulated
derailed.
into a situation you weren't prepared for.
1000%. And the man's role is to protect you and protect that space. And the more a man can step into that role, I'm telling you, man, it's sexy. And postpartum, you're going to remember that. You're going to remember how your husband showed up for you. But that's what I really love to do is teach couples, teach them both together the benefits of undisturbed physiological birth. Because if you can hold on to the benefits of things, then everything else just sounds icky. It's why am I going to do that? I'm going to mess with this, right? And it all starts really with learning about the nervous system. What's the first thing that develops when we create a human life? It's the nervous system. Your spinal cord, your brain, that's the first thing that develops when a sperm meets an egg. And it is the most important thing to nurture and take care of as you are growing that human. Yes, okay, you don't want to give your kid diabetes. Okay, cool. Let's teach about the benefits of eating higher protein, lower carb, staying well hydrated, not eating all this sugar and movement and mindfulness. And it all goes together. And if you really just nurture all of that, birth will work. It will work and it will be beautiful and it will be transformative and your baby will come out super amazing and healthy, right? If you put all the dots together, it'll work. And if it doesn't work, then that was God, right? And you can't control that. And so it's about teaching about letting go of control, teaching about surrender, teaching about faith over fear, and teaching about undisturbed physiological birth. I am a childbirth educator, certified childbirth educator, right? I let that license go because what that was indoctrination. I realized so long after teaching this course for 3 years, the first 3 years of my doula career, that I was indoctrinated. And in turn, when I was teaching this childbirth course, I was indoctrinating other people. Early labor is 1 to 4, active is 4 to 7, transition is 7. It's what is that? That's seeking cervical checks. You have to have a cervical check in order to know those numbers. So I was like, I don't want to teach evidence-based education anymore, right? So it's just kind of all of that. It's you have to get rid of again, back to the beginning. You have to get rid of that systematic propaganda that just
you have to rewire everything
shoved in us.
Yeah. That's not light work to do.
It's a complete unlearning.
It is an unlearning. So what really is the difference between trauma and training when they're both institutionalized? So for instance, in the Army, there's really aggressive techniques for training, which would actually be seen as abuse in some situations, but it's for the greater good. So I find that's such a fine, funny, hypocritical barrier line. What do you think about that?
I mean, if we're talking about obstetric abuse and obstetric training,
kind of leading from your last thought about your certifications and what you noticed was indoctrination versus actually helping somebody.
Right.
Yeah. And even midwifery indoctrination. I feel like we used to just kind of be the neighbor, right? It was, you learned about birth by being at your sister's births and your neighbor's birth and your aunt's births. And now we have to, as a doula, right? Like women think they have to get a certification. You don't have to get a certification to be a support person, but I thought I did. I thought I needed to get all of these certifications, this breastfeeding certificate, like everything. And it's like through doing that, all it was indoctrinating me.
Yeah.
It was basically getting me to be compliant with the system. So you know what a doula is, right? Once you get this certification, you can't question the provider. You have to always listen to the provider. You can't give medical advice because you're a doula. You don't have MD next to your name because you're a doula. You can't give medical advice. And through that, it's kind of stay in your place. You're the support person. You're the patient advocate, but you can't speak up, you know? So it was like, it was systematic abuse, but even more so like the conditioning that happens in obstetrics throughout pregnancy too. It's like cervical checking a woman leading up to her labor. That is trauma. That's and somebody might not see it as that. You know, they might just be like, "Oh, it's like getting a pap smear or whatever." You know, I'm just gonna spread my legs and they're gonna stick their hand in my cervix and tell me if I'm dilated or not at 35
Or
weeks.
get a sweep to brush it along, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another
'cause
topic.
I
but-
mean, what is it going to tell you at 35, 36, 30? And they're just getting a cervical check every week because
That's so
the OB
wild
is
to
teaching
me.
them to do that. Yeah, but it's like it's abuse. That's what it is it's abuse, and the body sees it as traumatic. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if it was another hole and they were like, "We're just gonna stick my finger in your bum hole." It's like, for what? It doesn't tell you anything.
Right.
It tells you nothing.
Is it still in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's still in there.
exactly. So it's when you learn about how crazy these trainings are, right? Like whether it's training to be a doula, training to be a midwife, because they have to go through a school that is ACOG accredited too. So they're learning the same
protocol
stuff that OBs are learning. And that's why, you know, they get a little nervous if you start to go past 41 or 42. It's like, what are you doing? There's castor oil. Oh, okay. Just because it's like a more natural Pitocin, it's still poison. Why are you even doing that? Why are you cervical checking? Why are you stretch and sweeping? Why are you doing these things to women that is literally just causing trauma, you know? And then they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear about it if she had this home birth and they think it was great, but she looks back and she's like, I wish I didn't have to take the castor oil. That was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? They don't want to see that they caused any kind of trauma. They don't want to talk about it. And that's the sad thing. Because if we just opened a conversation, then all of this would just stop.
Yeah.
Well, that's you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. You were saying like women can't consent. So it's kind of like, can you really even consent when you just have no idea of the fear that's taking over your body or like what you're...
I mean, especially the first time around, like even for
Especially
me,
the first
from my
time around,
first to my second. Now, I will say, I feel like I had a fairly good experience with my first comparatively to some other stories that I've heard. But going into having my second child, kind of same situation, but different. I just felt so much more empowered to make decisions and say no to things
You knew it was coming a bit more.
regard
Yeah.
whatsoever. You know, it's like, oh, the glucose test. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And
Did you feel pressured to do it?
oh yeah, they asked me every appointment from then and pretty much until the end. I was like, no, I won't be doing it. They're like, are you sure? I was like, positive.
Well, that's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you
100%.
tell them no, and then they like,
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up again.
Just in case you
Yeah.
forgot
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah. And like, you know, I went over 40 weeks with both of my girls and was very much encouraged to reconsider being induced with both of them. I was like, absolutely not. Nope. It's just, but you know, I feel very grateful because I feel, even though I have a tremendous amount more knowledge now, going into my first birth, I even felt at that time, which comparatively, I feel like I had no knowledge back then, but comparatively to the average female that was my age that was also having babies around the same time, I felt like I was extremely knowledgeable. I did a ton of my own research. I felt very empowered at the time to, you know, make a birth plan that was not normal and, you know, make my own decisions. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, there's so much more that I had to learn. So I can only imagine the mothers going into a birthing situation where they have zero. They're at ground zero. All they know is that their mom had them by C-section and that's what the doctor was ordered and that's all there is to it. So I can't even imagine being someone who just really does not have the education and the knowledge or understanding what the options are and why.
Well, if that leads to, that could lead to a traumatic birth experience with system, because you're putting your hands in the trust of other people who were taught and learned to trust.
Right.
And that's just the way birth is. We see how it's depicted in movies. But Emmy, I'm curious, do you think that trauma also could be from a birth that we actually didn't get to have versus the birth that we ended up did having, if it was different from what we envisioned or really wanted? And that's when somebody might say, you know what, at the end of the day, it's fine. You're healthy, baby's healthy. It was considered successful.
Right.
Oh, healthy mom, healthy baby. Love that one. Way to invalidate, that's like, oh, but you're healthy and baby's healthy. That's all that matters, right, mama? Right? Oh God, nothing irks me more than that when, because my job is to get down to the littlest things, from how they were spoken to in pregnancy, and how that's stuck in their nervous system, or what they think about themselves after their birth. You know what I mean? Like there's women, a lot of athletes. It's funny. You would think like midwives would be like, oh, she's an athlete, she's going to kill this one. It's actually the opposite. Cause I get a lot of inside, intel as to what the chatter is behind the scenes. Right.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the times I'll hear midwives, if a mom is like a CrossFit, like super whatever, they're like, oh gosh, there we go. She's gonna have a tight pelvic floor. She's probably gonna need an epidural to relax, right? So it's like,
wow,
they already think in their head that that's what it is, right? So when this mom is laboring and they're cervical checking her, and then all of a sudden she's complete, and then they start coach pushing her, and it's like, well, let's just break your water to make it come down a little more. They're like trying to do everything they can to help the mom. Like, let's push, let's get you on the birth stool, let's do all these things. And the mom gets to complete, and they're like, she's been pushing for 4 hours. Obviously, we know why she's been pushing for 4 hours. Her body wasn't ready, and she shouldn't be coach pushing, and she shouldn't have broken her water and all the things. But they'll sit there and they'll say something like, well, you're an athlete, and so you have a really tight pelvic floor. And sometimes we see that an epidural just kind of helps you relax, right? So she goes to the hospital, gets the epidural, and does relax, right? Because she doesn't have two women screaming at her to push and telling her, sticking their hands up her vagina. And she does end up having this vaginal birth at the hospital, right? So mom may be happy, and on the outside it may look beautiful. She had her vaginal birth. She, all she did was epidural because she got to complete. So she just needed to rest for a little bit and then push her baby out. So on the outside, it looks like, oh, she had a great birth. But on my side, when she comes to me postpartum, because she has so much anxiety, she can't sleep at night. And it's not the baby keeping her up, it's her nervous system. And she feels like she's depressed 6 months later. And we go through her whole birth. It breaks my heart because I'm like, it wasn't even that your birth plan was derailed. It was that you were completely sabotaged because somebody had it in their head before your birth even started that your pelvic floor was so tight that you were going to need the epidural. So somebody guided you to that epidural, right? Yep. So it's like, that's traumatic when you learn that your birth was derailed and your birth was sabotaged because somebody else, had a preconception of how your body worked. And I'm telling you, like, it's the same thing with big babies. They do it when they see a woman's belly looking too big. Yeah. And they want to try to, let's do some primrose oil at 38 weeks, 39 weeks. Let's just get your cervix nice and soft. We're not going to induce. It's just primrose oil. It's like they'll do little things because their fear, you know what I mean? They're not going to come out and say, well, we think you have a big baby and we kind of want to prevent shoulder dystocia, because that's just like not appropriate to say to someone. But that's their fear. That's their fear. Right. And the stupid thing is that they don't understand that all the shoulder dystocia that they're seeing is caused because they're causing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're breaking waters. They're coach pushing. They're not letting a woman intuitively feel into her body and move when the baby wants her to move. And I'm telling you, like, as a birth keeper, before the midwife arrived, I have literally, like, a woman standing up, like, caught an 11.5 pound baby just slide out of her without her even pushing, Wow. And it's like, I've seen 12-pound babies come out, like nothing, no tearing, no nothing. It's the size of the baby means nothing. And
Right.
I mean, like I said, the question was, healthy mom, healthy baby, you should, should women just, no, it's like your birth plan got derailed. That's traumatic. Like
Right.
you had this vision. If it was your wedding and you had this vision and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden somebody came in and was like having a paintball party in the
Yeah.
middle of your wedding,
Very true.
yeah, you'd be traumatized. Like it's not how you envisioned it,
So I'm so curious. I would love to know, like, could you walk us through what would be, because obviously you operate very differently than the standard practices. So could you walk us through what would it look like for you to coach or work with a woman that is going into labor or coming to
But
birthing a baby?
what state is this woman in? Is she
Like
'cause
in labor?
I
Like
know,
what?
but she's already worked with her master classes, so she's prepared for what's to come. Like, is this woman? What would she do if she's anxious, or what would she do if she's like?
No, I would say
just
like
in general.
because I think that most people probably know, okay, what it looks like when I go to the hospital. So I go in, I check in, I'm having contractions, I'm in labor. Okay, let's get you in a room, let's get you in the gown. Do you want an epidural? Okay, let's get you hooked up to the IV. Like there's such a standard protocol no matter who you are, no matter how prepared or unprepared you are. So I'm just curious, like, do you have kind of like a standard protocol, so to speak?
No.
Or like what do your interactions look like when you're in those moments, whether it's someone who is or isn't prepared?
Or just pick one because
Yeah.
they're all so different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great question because I think that's what makes the difference. That's what makes all the difference in the world is I've worked with hundreds of women and every woman has had a completely different, amazing birth, but it's individualized care. So I don't just like have 2 prenatals with them and then show up to their birth and then expect it to be like,
Right.
Like I am so deeply connected to these women. And that means that I can only, at max, I only take 2 women a month. And that's a max.
Right.
Sometimes I don't even do that anymore. Because at the beginning of my doula journey, I was doing like 5 or 6 a month. I was doing hospital births. I was doing this. I was doing a lot and I got burnt out, but
Yeah.
I learned a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now it is quality over quantity, 1000%. This is not work that you can do to be financially stable. My husband, I'm so grateful, makes really great money. So I am able to serve women, very affordably and also with quality and integrity. And they are my sisters. I am so deeply connected to their birth plan and every woman's birth plan. It's like I get to know, like, are you married to having this baby in the water? Because I will make sure that tub is filled up,
Right,
or
right.
are you just kind of like you want to feel into it? Do you want me there in early labor, or do you want to wait until you're like getting close to transition and just labor with your husband as long as possible, and then just have me kind of show up when things start feeling a little scary in your nervous system? Or everybody is so different, because some labors are prodromal. I have literally spent like 10 days with a woman spending the night on her couch and like going home just to like pump bottles and breastfeed my baby. And then I go right back to her house and spend the night because it's such intense prodromal labor that I want to be there to help her go back to sleep and feel calm and relaxed and regulated. And then I've shown up and a mom has her baby 30 minutes later and she
Right.
was that calm and confident. So really most of my work now is the prenatal. Like I don't do anything except for hands-on counter pressure, hip squeezes and all that. Like I am her kind of epidural, so to speak, if she wants it. And I'm also like that calming force in the room because when I say I have zero fear in birth, I literally have zero. It's this weird calm that comes over me. And to have that around you when you're birthing your baby, to have somebody that's just kind of like there and calm and loving on you, and my voice tone doesn't change. I don't.
Well, it's your vibration, your energy. It's
Yeah, the
comfort
movements
and,
are very slow. Like midwives, like sometimes they'll like everything's so fast and it's like that can
Gotta
take a
get
mom
this.
out of it. You know? Yeah. Everything's very slow. Everything's very calm. Everything's soft spoken. And some women want the candles and the aromatherapy, and some women are like, I don't want any music. I don't want it. So everybody is different. And I do a minimum of 6 prenatals with my moms. And that's not like 30-minute appointments. It's like 90 minutes to 2 hours with them. And I get to know these people deeply. If they have older children, I become like their auntie, so that in labor, if they want to have a family-centered birth, that their toddler like loves me, and I will I have like a bag of from 6 months to 5 years old of activities and toys and Play-Doh and kinetic sand and all sorts of things that are like
so
new
awesome.
and different for them, so that if I need to go into childcare mode, I know how to do that. I grew up taking care of
Perfect.
You're
Exactly.
experienced.
You got your whole bag. Of
So
skincare.
if I have to watch the toddler and that's what she needs, is somebody who trusts birth that can also watch her kid for her. Because some people don't want to hire a nanny or have their mother-in-law there or their own mom there who has fear around birth. Like they want somebody that can watch their child so that they can labor with their husband and feel confident that their baby is in loving hands, with somebody who's genuinely like excited and trying to keep them entertained. But if they want to come see mommy, they know how to like, come on, let's go say hi to mommy, give her kisses, or I'll give the kid a washcloth, because they want to do something, and I'll show them how to put it on mommy's neck. And, it's any way that I can like help create oxytocin flow. But yeah, it's all individualized care. So when somebody's like, what does it look like working with you? I say, I have to get to know you first. And then that's how it's going to be getting, and I have to want to work with somebody just as much as they want to work with me. I want somebody who fully trusts birth, who's not going to secretly take the castor oil, and then call me. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of somebody who didn't surrender and trust, because that's trauma that I'll witness. I don't want to, I don't want to witness that. I want somebody who's going to surrender and go deep, because it's so beautiful and it's so cool. And I can facilitate that with her, but I spend a lot of the time breaking down all the fears. So I haven't had a mom that's like, I'm going to do castor oil, but I'm just saying, like, the women that come to me, they usually find me from Instagram, from podcast, or word of mouth. All the women in the community that are like, oh, you want to... I have an amazing licensed midwife that I have been training with for 2 years. So like she's just incredible. And I was like, I want to learn. I want to learn from you, like really learn. I mean, I know a lot, but I want to really focus on a placenta coming out and see what's normal and what's, I want to learn these things. And she doesn't cervical check. She tells women when we meet with them, she's like, I will not cervical check you. Like, even if you ask for it, it's not going to happen. So that's just how I practice. And I'm like, I love her so much. She doesn't even examine the vagina like after the mom has the baby, because that's traumatic, right? She's just like, how do you feel? Does it feel really awful down there? Because I'll kind of look, but she doesn't get the gauze and like do all this right after a mom had a baby. And it's just really beautiful to be a part of that. And so I feel like I'm kind of training with like a really cool midwife, but I'm not a midwife. Like I don't want to be a midwife. I want to just help women come into their power. Like I don't do medical stuff with them. That's not,
I love that
I'm there to just support them.
I love that you acknowledge that difference, because for my first experience, I remember not really having a clear understanding, thinking that going with a midwife would allow me down that path. And I was thinking, oh, doula was, because I was not informed and I never had babies or that in my life. I was just thinking, oh, maybe they offer more education on after birth or what to prepare before. And it wasn't until I witnessed my sister-in-law have a home birth without a midwife and just a doula. And I was like, for me at first, I was like, wait, what? Like, how could you, like, a million questions? And I was there for the beginning of the labor and then right after she had the baby. And it was just like, saw the videos and everything. It was the most beautiful thing. And the trust that she exhibited within her own path, especially being a first birth, was just so grounding for me as just a sister, but also just to know what the differences were. So I'm glad you kind of explained that a little bit more, because you can have some people get both. Some people do just support birth worker, and some people do just a midwife, and some people just go to OBs. Like there's all of these options that I don't think maybe newer coming moms are necessarily aware of unless you're in an industry or space that talks about these things or around other people
Who've experienced
who've
them.
experienced them.
Yeah.
But that's also like, that also brings up a great question, because a lot of the times I think to myself, I'm like, but I am a traditional midwife. Like, what I'm doing is what the traditional midwives
Right.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
We just
Right.
sit,
And you
they
have the
sit
same-
there and knit and don't do anything. And
Yeah.
I do carry Angelica root and, you know, the cohoshes and stuff. If mom is bleeding a little heavier after she has, it's like, here's some tinctures. It's like, those are herbs. Like, that's
Right.
not
Yeah.
medical either. Those
Right.
are just herbs, right? But it's like, I also know NRP, you know, like neonatal resuscitation. I took Dr. Stu's breech workshop, which is a midwife accredited
Yeah.
course. I went to with all the midwives in Austin
Yeah, it's just
and
the
learned
difference of
how to
the
deliver a breech baby.
licensing.
Because if I'm sitting with a woman in a free birth and I see a butt and the baby comes out and has no tone and the cord is white and the head is stuck and and not flexed, and I want to learn the maneuvers to
Right.
help her get her breech baby out. Like, I'm
Right.
not going to just sit there and call 911 and wait 10 minutes for an ambulance to arrive.
Right.
I want to have these skills if I am going to sit with these women in the sovereign birth, you know. And I think that's
Exactly.
kind of what separates what I do compared to like Free Birth Society or something, is like, I have been in a ton of births and I've seen the variations of normal in bleeding, and I've seen, you know, little tips and tricks on like how to help the placenta get out by, you know, hey, let's get off your back. Let's do hands and knees. Like, I don't have
Right.
fear. And so, and I've been training with a licensed midwife, you know, and I've been taking the courses that if a baby comes out and needs a little breath, you know, like I can do these things. But again, I'm not like telling a mother that I'm going to Doppler her and I'm going to
Right.
manage or check her birth. So it's like, then what is the difference between a license and a traditional midwife? Well, now you talk about it and it's like the licensed midwife is basically just managing your birth. They're like
Yes.
managing everything.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Right? Because the license requires it.
Yes,
the
you
state
have to
requires
legally
them
do
to
that,
log
yeah.
cervical
Like,
checks.
Check off
Exactly.
all
You have to
the-
legally-
check off all
Everything.
the things on the
Did
list.
you cervical
Yeah.
check her? What was she at this hour? And
Right.
how
Exactly,
many
yeah.
hours you
And
like
then-
every 6 hours they're supposed to offer a cervical check according to their licensure. Because if they go to the hospital, the OB will be like, well, what were they? And it's like, they have to like lie and be like, oh, she was a 4 at 8 p.m. if they don't cervical check.
Right.
So they're constantly lying, either lying on their charts or they're manipulating women into complying to follow their license.
And it's so true. Like you
That
mentioned,
midwives were lying.
yeah. How do you think that we can hold a place for birth and that paradox of being in a state of bliss, but then also accepting the, what did you call it, the intensity of it? How do we find that, or how would you describe to women how they can sit into that space?
Yeah, you have to learn about exactly what's happening with your body, exactly what's happening with your body and your baby. And in a nutshell, I do it really quickly too. Like, so whenever I go on podcasts and stuff, I'm like, let me teach you really, really quickly, right? So this is how God designed birth. When the baby is ready to be born, the baby will release prostaglandins, right? Which is basically that stuff that will soften your cervix. Semen is also a prostaglandin. Cytotec and Cervidil, what they give you at the hospital, it'll help soften your cervix, right? But God designed the baby to trigger that whenever they say, I'm ready to be born, right? And also at that very moment, we have oxytocin receptors. So oxytocin is the orgasm, the love hormone, right? And we have these receptors in our body. And at the moment that the baby is ready to be born is at the highest that these oxytocin receptors will be. So if you even try to naturally induce, like, acupuncture or castor oil or anything, before these oxytocin receptors are at their highest, you're just going to make your labor longer and harder because the oxytocin receptors aren't fully ready to receive the oxytocin that is required to make labor work. So baby releases prostaglandins, right? Starts softening your cervix, tells your body that you're ready, right? As your cervix gets soft, your uterus will contract. And the oxytocin that your brain is releasing will tell the uterus to contract. When the uterus contracts, it pushes down, baby comes down, creates that pressure. That's the intensity, right? And that intensity and feeling that intensity also in turn sends a signal to your brain to release endorphins.
Right.
So in between each wave, you're actually getting the wave, you're getting flooded with oxytocin. In between the wave, you're getting flooded with endorphins. You're getting flooded with natural painkillers. Now, throughout all of this, your baby is also feeling that. So hormones were designed to cross into the baby so that the baby can feel oxytocin, so that baby's just being bathed in love. That's all it knows. That's all it feels inside of you is that love hormone, like the feeling of being in love. That's all that baby's feeling during labor. And then you would think like, oh, they're getting squeezed. It hurts them, right? Well, the wave of endorphins that you're getting is meant to flood that baby. So the baby is also experiencing endorphins. So when you think about this cycle that happens, you almost welcome the wave of intensity and know that the endorphins in between are helping both you and your baby. And if you can really learn to relax and let go of each wave and just kind of let those endorphins flush over you, talk to your baby, know that your baby is nice and comfy in there. That's the cool thing is like if you can really relax into that, like your body will do the work. Your body will open up. Your body will birth the baby, right? And just knowing that by staying away from the drugs and staying away from, because the second you get an epidural, you cut all of that off. Your body stops releasing oxytocin because it can't feel anymore. And then it also stops releasing endorphins. However, the baby is still getting squeezed and the baby is still feeling the sensations of labor, but you aren't anymore. So you're not telling your brain to release endorphins. So now your baby's like just like
Uncomfortable.
kind of stressed
needing
out and
Pitocin
feeling
to-
all the things, right? So it's just really when you tell somebody that, when you're like, hey, by you numbing out, you're actually like cutting off the good stuff to your
Right.
baby.
Right.
So now your baby really does have to navigate birth without you, without feeling loved and without feeling, I mean, obviously they'll feel love, but you know what I mean? Without
Yeah.
being flooded
Without-
with oxytocin. We were
Right.
meant to be born into this world literally bathed in love. It's the bonding hormone. It's the breastfeeding hormone.
Yes.
It's everything. And so the more you really learn about that and the more you kind of release into that intensity, it's not scary. It's cool. Like you're like your body is doing something so cool. And on the inside that you're not seeing, it's creating all of these hormones that are just helping the baby and you really cope with all of the intensity that's happening. So to me, like when people learn about that, it's like, why would you want to cut that off? Why would you want to cut that cocktail off? And then you need synthetic oxytocin, you need Pitocin to speed things up. And so then the baby's getting squeezed unnaturally and even harder. And they don't have you connected to them, telling them everything's okay, being flooded with the
Right.
oxytocin and endorphins. So they're freaked out. They usually just freak out on the heart rate monitor, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you can see that with all the machines that we have now. You can see it. That's just how it happens. So yeah, to lean into birth is to break down all of your fears. Like, what do you fear? And that's kind of what I love doing when I'm on with people, because everybody has a different fear, you know, and if you can break down these fears, then you can lean into the intensity and you can really surrender to birth. And
That's a great answer. I feel like so many mothers and women who've given birth are going to relate and see so much of themselves at some point in this conversation. It's so hard for me to be like, yep, me.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt that way too.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me not to jump in, and because I'm so excited about the things you're talking about.
Me too. Me too. I'm like just like reliving both of my birthing experiences and been like, wow.
It's the most, like I said in this intro, it really is the most kind of unacknowledged ritual and rite of passage women go through.
Yeah.
yeah, it
With
really
such a
is.
lack of education on the truth of it all.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so.
Well,
it's
I'll be
just
doing
so
these
layered.
free master classes once a month. That's my goal. It's
love
2 hours and it's free, and I'm just going to be doing it once a month,
Awesome.
and
Amazing.
then I'll probably start doing some Zoom
Yeah.
lives, Instagram lives, and stuff too. So, yeah. But the Reclaim Birth Masterclass is going to be the same class, and I'm just going to every month.
Amazing.
And people can join for free. And if people want to take it over and over and over again so that they retain the information, I'm going to do that. And then my goal is to basically start traveling around the country and doing like 6-hour workshops so that I can like teach couples how to really move and prepare their bodies, and teach the husbands how to like really do counter pressure. And I want to do these like in-person workshops like all over the country. That's my dream.
That's really nice,
That's
especially in a
amazing.
world of virtual courses these days. In person is something that is going to be one of the.
But it's also just so great that like you're spreading the knowledge and even with your free master classes, giving that information for free, which like so many people I feel like need to hear this message. So that's fantastic. That's really great.
I do have one more question for you that
Get it, girl.
it sparked a conversation with Brianna because she showed me this video where it was like the memory that water can hold, and how even if you show water a picture and then you freeze it, it almost like crystallizes into that pattern. Like, it was a really great video. So it made us start thinking, like, if water is something that holds memory, what kind of stories and memories would an amniotic fluid hold?
I mean, it's so true. Like, our amniotic fluid is so, I mean, that's what baby eats, drinks, you know, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving life to that baby, you know what I mean? And it does. Like, our nervous, like I said, you know, earlier on, a mother's nervous system while she is pregnant really helps set up and build the baby's nervous system. So if you're somebody who's highly anxious, or you're just go, 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 and you aren't giving, that's why I emphasize movement and mindfulness. Like, we really do have to take time to tell our body that we love our body. That's how I work in somatics. Like, that's my thing. That's my jam, is like, you are not broken. Your body is amazing. Send your body love. I have guided somatic meditations on my podcast to just really get you to acknowledge parts of your body that you forget about. Your pinky toe. Like, who
Right.
sends love
Love
to
it.
their pinky toe every day, right? Like,
Right.
but we have to send love to all parts of our body. And through doing that in your pregnancy, you're really holding the womb space. And again, that amniotic fluid, if you can fill that up with as much love and trust in your body, your baby will literally just be like held in a housing of like love and trust. And I see it. I see those babies that come into the world, and I've seen some of the babies that I've helped come in turn 6, you know, and they're just like, they're so
That's
just
cool.
That's cool.
out of world, you know, like they
Right.
were
Just
imprinted
different.
by the fluid being so just bathed in love, you know.
Right.
Those babies, some babies come out in call too, and it's really cool. They come out in their water sac, and it's like,
Oh, I've seen videos
Yeah.
of that. So you've
Yeah.
actually seen that in person then.
girl, since I've been doing this sovereign work, they say it's 4%. I have had 3 end call births since November of last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like,
what do you
it's,
do
I
when
mean,
it's
like,
Yeah,
some
what
people never
happens?
see an end call birth in birth work in their whole life. And
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen 3 since November, and every single one of them, the one thing they had in common, no cervical checks, no nothing, like no intervention whatsoever. So it begs to differ. Like, is all of the tension from the I mean, our cervix is a sphincter, you
Right.
know?
Right.
It closes up if you,
Yeah.
so it's like, is all that tension is like what breaks the water? Or, you know, maybe more babies would come out in their water sac if they were just like,
what do you do when a baby does come out in their water sac?
it
don't
usually will break like
Right.
once the shoulders come through. Like,
Right,
usually
right.
like every time that it's happened, you'll see like this kind of like, it looks like a balloon sticking out
Right.
before the head.
Right.
And it's just kind of like hanging there, you know? And then the head kind of
Mom's like,
comes
"Is that
out
a
and
head?"
fills the balloon. It's kind of like when you blow a bubble and then you blow a bubble inside of a
Yeah,
bubble,
yeah.
you know? That's kind of what happens. And then whenever the baby's shoulders come through, it usually like pops. It usually
Right.
breaks. Yeah. So, but it's so
So
cool
cool.
to see just like a little sack,
bet.
Yeah.
that 11 and a half pound baby that I caught. That the first thing I saw, I was on the phone with the midwife because she was in rush hour traffic. She wasn't going to make it. I was like, you're not going to make it. So I'm just going to talk to you and tell you what I see so you can chart. She was in a Tesla. She's so cool. The midwife that I work with, she's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Nice.
And I was like, you're driving in your Tesla. You can chart. And I was like, oh, baby's in call. Cool. Like,
So
it was so
cool.
cool. Like, the water sack was just hanging out. I was like, this is awesome. And I'm like standing there, like so fascinated with the husband. I'm like guiding him, like, come here with the towel. Like,
Yeah.
'cause she just wanted to stand up. I was like, okay, if you're standing up, we gotta be under
I
you.
feel
You know,
like that
'cause
would
she
be
didn't.
slippery trying
She had
to
her hands on the bed. I was like,
something.
catch your baby. She's like, no, I don't want to. You know, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I have her husband like in there, and I'm like so fascinated. And then like the thought crossed my brain. I was like, oh, water sack hasn't broken yet. And like right when I thought that, it was just all over me and him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, it breaks eventually when that baby comes out. So
So cool. So fascinating.
So, I mean, if people wanted to learn a little bit more about your work and visit you on your site or listen to your podcast, can you just drop some links and let us know or let our audience know where they can find you or work with you?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is Emmy Robbin, EMMYROBBIN, doula, DOULA.com. And you can book one-on-one services with me. You'll find my free masterclass there. You can get my best-selling book, Faithful Beginnings. You can go listen to my podcast, which will take you on a journey, or my Instagram or Facebook or X at Emmy Robbin Doula.
Awesome. And we'll write all this in the show notes too. So anyone interested, it'll all be written there as well. So
I want to send you guys a copy of my book. So you'll have to send me your address so I can send each
that
of
would
you
be
a copy.
so awesome.
We're talking to all our girlfriends.
We
have like
about
a
it
whole
earlier
stack.
today. Yeah.
I'll send y'all extras so that if you have any pregnant friends, you can. I want my book to just be one of those ones that people just pass around.
Amazing.
So.
You can tell
That's
you're
awesome.
somebody who does this work from the heart because you can hear
My
it in the
husband
passion in
makes
your
really
voice.
good money, so I don't have to. You know what I mean? That's
And this is the type of love and passion you want from a birth worker that you're working with, is knowing that it's not for the money. They're there for you. You're there for them. You're there for
I wanna empower everybody. I want to be the Tony Robbins of doulas. I want people to leave my workshops and be like, I can do this.
Start off with a big dance party every time. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for educating us and our listeners today. I think it's been a really powerful episode. So thank you for your time and energy.
Thank y'all so much for having me on. This was awesome.
This is just a reminder that we are a visual podcast. So if you want to check out the outfits, the facial expressions, what we look like, be sure to head over to YouTube, Spotify, and we are on all other major listening platforms that you can think of as well.
And be sure to check us out on social media, Instagram at the Honey Toast Podcast. We're also on TikTok and X. So you can find a little bit more teasers for upcoming episodes and more additional information on our guests as well. So we hope you follow along for the journey.